And welcome back. This is a video that I put together just to show making this. This is the wing stand that I just kind of threw designs together and made in a single day. Tried to find some ideas online, couldn't find any schematics, so I kind of made my own based on some ideas that I'd seen from other builders and kind of threw together a few different concepts from a couple different builders that I'd seen on their blogs and whatnot. So anyway, like I said, this will just be a video kind of the process of how I put this together. So I went out to Lowe's and got it was about $100 worth of lumber. I think I used 2x4x10s and various hardware. And then I also used quite a bit of scrap from the shipping box containers for the wing kit. I figured might as well use what's there instead of going out and getting pieces at the store. And the kit's shipping boxes are just going to get trashed for whatever I don't use anyway. So trying to recycle as much as I can out of those boxes, and we'll be using those also to make the stands for various components. Probably we'll make some stands for the fuel tanks as well as the flaps and things like that. Things that would make it easier if they're sitting vertically instead of trying to work on them horizontally. But for the most part, like I said, just trying to use pieces that I have and then going to get new pieces to finish the rest. So made everything out of, like I said, 2x4s and doubled everything up. And so used some wood glue just to reinforce everything. But other than that, just used some wood screws. I believe they were 2.5-inch wood screws. And it all seemed to work pretty well. The way I figured I was going to make this is just set a double 2x4s for the base around all four sides, and then a set of 2x4s that go up to make both vertical supports. And then I actually used the siding of the shipping containers to stretch across the top and brace the tops of the supports, just kind of hold everything together. And then, like I said, I used some of the plywood from the tops and the bottoms of the kit shipping box to make braces at the corners, just kind of reinforce everything. I don't really have a good feel for how heavy the wings are going to be individually suspended from the spar like you saw in the picture, but I figured the bracing that I've applied should help and be more than enough in my eyes. But if it gets to be too big of a worry, I can always just put some aluminum angle pieces and just support it from the vertical supports down to the base, just for added support. But like I said, I don't think that will be necessary. We'll kind of get a feel for it as I start putting the pieces together. So some of the things I had looked at as I was trying to design this were several bloggers. One had basically braced from the floor to the ceiling. I believe they attached a base plate directly to the concrete floor in the slab, drilled it into the slab, and then also drilled a capping piece basically and drilled it into the joists in the ceiling of the garage, and then braced everything to those, just to basically make a very rigid structure that was a little bit more permanently attached to the garage. I wasn't interested in doing that so much. I wanted to be able to move this around so that I can kind of get things situated in the garage as I needed. So I made everything on a small base like this. Now, one of the mistakes I made right here, you see me trying to drill in at an angle into the sides there, and I didn't really put together the idea that it might be easier to cut away the inner board so that it could fit kind of like a jigsaw puzzle piece. And so that's what I'm doing here, is cutting away a little bit and then making it so that the pieces will fit together and interlock, and then I will be able to drill the screws into the pieces to have it all hold together. And it's more structurally sound that way anyway. I should have done that from the beginning. So like I said, all the corners are interlocked, kind of like a jigsaw. And then the vertical support beam, it's a 2x4, two 2x4s that are sandwiched together. But one of these 2x4s is about 3 inches shorter. It's basically the width of a 2x4 shorter, so that it can sit on top of one of the outside 2x4 there. So you might be able to see it at the base there, but that just makes it a little bit more sturdy. Instead of trying to put 2x4s on the outside, kind of build it into the support there. And then along with the bracing that I install later on, it provides for a pretty stout joint. So now I'm working on making the corner bracing, and like I said, I repurposed the top of the shipping container, and so some of them I had to drive the staples out and get rid of those, and then put it in place and cut a 45-degree angle into it, and then screw it all into place. So like I said, it all came along pretty easily and pretty well. It's a very simple design, and I think that it'll be very strong design, structurally speaking, as far as being able to support the spar and the weight of the wings as they're being assembled. And I figure if even after all the bracing I put on that you'll eventually see, I think even without all of that, if it's still not, if I'm not comfortable with it, then like I said, I can always add angle aluminum from the vertical supports there down to the base structure there, and then that way we'll add some more supports to hold the vertical portions in place. So fast forward a little bit here. I'm now working on getting the bracing that will go outside of the vertical pieces there. And so it's essentially just I think these are 1/2 inch wide boards that they use for the material. And so just cut those to length and then cut an angle into them so that I don't have any sharp corners that I have to worry about, banging my shins on or anything, and then putting it all together. At one point I had thought about putting casters underneath this, and I decided against it in that I don't necessarily need it to be that easy to move around. I don't think. It slides around pretty well as it is, and I think even with the weight of the wings on there, it'll still be fairly easy to slide around, especially on the garage floor. Obviously, once I get all this stuff out of the way of the garage, it's pretty full right now, my God. Anyway, I think once, even with the wings on there and fully assembled, I think I'd still be able to move it around fairly well. So I didn't worry about putting casters on there, and I think that the casters might have actually made it a little more unstable. So I decided against that. But one of the other things I had thought of is making brackets so that I could put both wings on, one on either side of this stand. I ended up deciding against it because as you're building, you want to have access to both sides of the wing. And so if you have both wings, one on either side of the stand, you can't get to the back side very easily. So I left it to basically only one wing at a time. I had decided that I want to try to build both wings at the same time, so it makes it a little less a pain, I guess is the word for it. The recommendation is that you work on both wings at the same time so that you don't go through the entire process and then have to restart on the other wing and kind of re-figure out how you had done something previously. So that's what I was attempting to do with that idea, but then, like I said, I wanted to make sure I have access to both sides, so I ended up deciding against it. So anyway, unfortunately, I lost some of the video, and so this is actually going to cut out here, but I attached some photos at the end here to kind of show you various pieces and how they ended up coming out at the end. So again, this is just kind of a progression of photos showing as I went along here, everything, all the braces are on, getting ready to put the top brace on, which is how you see it there. So like I said, I just used the side panels from the shipping containers and attached them to the top just to brace the top. And then I used angle aluminum, cut them to size, and then drilled holes to match, and made sure that the holes were exactly the same size as the bolts, and assembled all that together. So I have a hole on the side here where you see the screwdriver going through. That's just to keep it from sliding out. The hole on this side, there's actually a bolt on the left side there that goes through and attaches to the angle iron. So that helps to hold it in place and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And I have lots of washers in place, so it actually doesn't, the bolt's not actually touching the frame itself to kind of protect it. So anyway, I appreciate everybody taking a look. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below, and we'll try to address them as they come along. Thanks for watching.